How was the scrimmage today?
It was good. It's competitive. Yeah, guys were flying around. Cleaner than the first one, I thought it was really good.
You guys
We'll
got
see
your
what the
quarterback?
tape says, but what's that?
You got your quarterback?
I don't.
Just thought
No
it-
involvement in that.
Just thought I would ask.
Yeah.
Demetrius Samuel's been somebody people have been talking about a lot in camp. 17 years old today. As a matter of fact. Yeah. Just how is he handling everything that you guys are putting on his shoulders so far?
A smile on his face every single day. Literally every single day. He's one of the first guys in when you go into breakfast in the morning. Nobody would ever guess he's 17 years old today. Let's put it that way. Yeah. High level of maturity, great character, and just a positive attitude.
Who are some of the leaders in your room that are helping him kind of acclimate to the college game?
Yeah, I think, from an overall secondary standpoint, they all rally around one another to begin with. They do a great job of that. But guys like Deuce Chestnut, Devin Grant, Barry Buxton, Greg Delane in that specific corner room. Those guys are doing a really good job with all the younger players.
Deuce had a decision to make. He was contemplating maybe jumping to the pros, but he came back. What's it like to have a player like him back?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Deuce has played so many reps. When you go back and you look at over the entirety of his career, those are hard to replace. That amount of reps, that knowledge, the instincts that comes with that. So he's done a great job so far this spring. I think he's much more tied into the details of it all right now than even just last year. And he's doing a really good job, and obviously we're happy to have him back for sure.
You guys have had Coach Coyle added to the roster. What's it like working with somebody like him?
It's awesome. You got somebody in there every day that, the second you want to bounce something off his mind, there's really nothing that he probably hasn't seen. You know what I mean? And so to have him in the room on a daily basis has been awesome. Yeah.
During the recruiting process, what stood out the most to you about Demetrius?
Again, just like what I said, here's this guy, he's a highly recruited kid, he's young. But again, every single thing he did was just a smile on his face, no ego, you know what I mean? And just his character. Obviously everything he does on the field is awesome, it speaks for itself, but a kid that young, that much attention at that point in time with the recruiting and everything like that, his character stood out to me.
What has stood out the most to you about this newer group of even the transfers in the newer secondary room?
Yeah, I would probably say they like to compete, and we're on them every day. We got to see it more and more. But man, they take coaching. We coach really hard, and they take it in stride, and you never get any rolls of the eyes or anything like that sometimes you might get from younger kids. And they've showed a really good level of maturity for being young guys right now.
17-year-old true freshman. I know what Coach Brown said. What are your expectations for a player like Demetrius?
Yeah, honestly, right now, the expectation is just keep doing what he's doing, showing up here every day, positive attitude, taking it all in stride. He comes in, he has extra meetings. He's always asking us questions. Hey, can I grab you for 10 minutes here? So just continue to do that, right, and just get a little bit better every single day. And I think that kind of alleviates some of the there's nothing overwhelming. You know what I mean? It's just every day let's get a little bit better.
Who do you guys have sort of competing for, forgive me if it was asked, but for Elijah's sort of spot right now?
Yeah, in that safety room right now, there's a handful of guys. Obviously we bring back people like Devin Grant, Barry Buxton, you've already mentioned Deuce, BJ Long, who played a little bit last year. He's done a really good job maturing just physically with his body so far this offseason. He's got to keep that up. Cornell Perry, a guy like Marcus Washington, a guy like Teron Hale. They're all getting a ton of reps right now. So,
Caleb, I know I just talked to him. He says he's corner. Is that it, or would you consider him as a safety eventually? Can he do both?
Yeah, I think he's a corner right now. You know what I mean? We're 8 practices in, 7 practices in. I think that'll all be that'll be down the line. But he's doing a darn good job right now. Having been here for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, he's doing a pretty good job at corner.
You've got 2 Kerrs in the room, and there's not a lot of separation in terms of their names. I know they're different classes and everything, but how do you separate them as players?
Obviously when one of them has already been here for a full season and everything like that, right? So again, those reps that we talked about with a guy like Deuce, you get experience and you get it fast, So Davey Yen has that experience, and he's been with us. But they're very similar, you know. I think that competitive edge and that physicality, right, that Davey Yen was able to kind of get a hold of because he's been here longer, right? But I don't think his brother's far behind from that standpoint.
Joe, what do you think about you guys are wearing the shirts, 4th and 1, 4th and 9, the balance of looking forward to a new season but remembering something from last year to motivate and push you forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you have to remember those moments, right? It's not so much about going back last year and comparing it to last year's team, but just like coaches do. I mean, we learn from moments, right? And you don't want those moments to affect you. And there's a lot for us to learn as coaches from 4th and 1 and 4th and 9. You know what I mean? And so you have to always kind of like log those memories and those moments in your head. You know, some coaches might call them scars. You know what I'm saying? But we all have them. And player-wise, it's the same thing. You know, but that moment helps us understand urgency, detail, things like that.
All the defensive coaches we've talked to so far have mentioned tackling and that it needs to be better this year. Where are you guys sort of at this point versus last year in terms of teaching where you need to be and sort of how the group looks in tackling?
Yeah, I think the guys that were here and experienced it last year are a step ahead, you know what I mean, in terms of tackling, takeaway. The three things we're focusing on defense around: tackling, takeaways, and communication, you know. And those are the things we have to improve on. And I think we're ahead of the game from this time last year. But Coach Fran says it all the time, like, we're not comparing ourselves to, you know, April 2nd of last year. You know what I mean? We're comparing ourselves to San Diego on December 27th, or whatever the bowl game date was, you know. That's the last time we took the field, so.
When you have a player like Justin Leave who had that hybrid ability and that versatility, what or who can replace him in your defense?
Yeah, great question. I think it'll be a little bit by committee, you know, and when you start, really that versatility comes into play, like when you start talking about sub packages and stuff like that, you know, whether it be 3rd down or whether it's, you know, bigger personnel that we're seeing on 1st and 2nd down. He had the size and the ability to kind of be versatile there, and I think then it comes by committee, right? So as we start talking, we haven't even really gotten into a bunch of sub packages and stuff like that just yet, but as we start doing that, we'll find who those guys are.
Good. Great.